So today I want to talk about the abortion ban that's been, going on throughout the country. And what's killing me is that we seem to have forgotten that this problem was solved a long time ago with the Supreme Court case Roe v. Wade. Um, Obviously, that case has set precedent, and without any major problems, we already know that abortion is legal within the United States. And in my personal opinion, and not even this shouldn't even be my personal opinion to begin with, because what we fail to realize is that this has already been solved. The issue of whether or not a woman can get an abortion has been solved. Now, yes, we all know that there have been limits placed on when an abortion can take place and under what circumstances, and certain ages have to be approved, things like that. And yet and still, here in August of 2019, we are still having this problem. So it was just announced that Missouri was also trying to pass some of the most restrictive abortion laws in the United States, with it being an 8-week abortion, which means that 8 weeks after a baby has been conceived, that an abortion cannot take place. It would be illegal. I truly feel like that is extremely, extremely restrictive. Like, how can you say after 8 weeks when that hasn't been the problem? That hasn't been the case. The case has always been, it's much later than that. And it really boils down to, at what point do we say enough is enough? At what point do we say that a mother has the right to choose, and that states and local governments and the federal government cannot conceivably tell a woman, no, you can't do this with your body? Now, some will argue, okay, well, what about a man's right to choose? Well, unfortunately, even though I'm a man, and I do in some instances feel, yes, a man should have the right to choose. I mean, it is his child. And given that me and myself has child support, it can kind of be really difficult. When you go and have these relationships with women, this is something you have to take into consideration. This has to be something that you put on the forefront. So, for more context about this, we go to Kate Smith from CBS News, who writes, beginning Wednesday, women seeking an abortion in Missouri will be subject to a handful of new regulations intended to dissuade them from obtaining the procedure. Among other restrictions, doctors will be prohibited from terminating a pregnancy based on the presence of Down syndrome. A federal judge on Tuesday temporarily blocked a part of Missouri's new sweeping anti-abortion legislation that would ban the procedure after 8 weeks, among other restrictions. However, other pieces of the Missouri Stands for an Abortion Act are scheduled to go into effect. That right there is just too much. Now, yes, thank everyone with the correct mind to be like, okay, this is clearly wrong. And I don't really feel like this should be a Democrat versus Republican thing or a male versus female thing. I feel that just at its very core, if a woman says, hey, I'm not ready to have a baby, that sentence alone, if the thought crosses her mind, then the option should be available. I have a daughter. Right now she's 5. And I could not imagine growing up in a world where someone you've never met tells my little girl that she has to be a mother, that the state or country that she lives in doesn't care about her enough to be like, well, yes, you're only a teenager, or yes, you don't have the resources, and whether or not you can take care of this child, or are you mentally sound to take care of this child, but whether or not the child has rights. But then the question becomes, at what point do we say that this is a child? A fetus cannot think on its own. A fetus cannot interact on its own and cannot survive outside of the womb. And with that being said, we cannot be like, you have to have this baby. Because is the state going to be there to help you take care of the baby? No. Is the father going to be around to to help take care of the baby? We honestly don't know that to be a fact. And in many instances, just being here in the state of Pennsylvania and, in the United States at all, it's a running joke that in the black community that the father is not going to be around. That clearly is not the case with my little girl, because I'm still here. It's been 5 years and I've been there since the moment she was conceived. And I will be there until the moment I die. And that's that. And God himself will not change that for me, because I love my daughter. But I can't say that for everyone else, and that's just a sad truth of life. But the bottom line still remains that there are people in our government right now who want to get rid of the ability for a woman to choose. Roe v. Wade is essentially set in stone. I can't conceivably wrap my mind around those who are in the media or in government and think that separation of church and state only applies to taxes. Well then, if that was the case, how is it that, corporations can get away with paying absolutely nothing and everyone's okay with that? And churches can get away with absolutely, not paying any taxes and everyone's okay with that. But then, all of a sudden, when these churches decide to get all political and stuff, the lines between church and state suddenly become blurred. And now all of a sudden, we have no idea whether or not a church is being a political figure or they're still being a church. Because in my opinion, in my 26 years of being alive, the church has consistently been a political figure. As you all know, when you go to be sworn in to be a judge, you put your hand on a Bible. There have been some small instances where that actually hasn't been the case. One judge has put her hand on the Quran, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But the bottom line still remains that embedded within the democracy of the United States of America is the Christian church. I personally feel that that is not a bias that we can just get rid of. There are a number of Christians both in and out of the government, and Christian people vote on their beliefs, which in the United States is their absolute right. Do I agree with it? No, not in some instances, and in some I do. However, getting back onto the point of abortions, I don't feel as though this is right, and I truly feel that this is not something that I have to be talking about. I do not feel that I should have to look at my 5-year-old. I should have to look her in the face and be concerned when she becomes sexually active. Or better yet, one day when she's 15 and says, "Hey Dad, can I go out and hang out with my friends tonight?" And I'll say, "Where are you going?" She'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to the arcade." There's no more arcades, But, "Oh, I'm going to the movies." And I'll say, "Who are you going with?" She's going with 2 girls and 1 guy. All right, cool. But then she walks home by herself, and God forbid someone tries to grab her. And later on we find out she's pregnant. And in the state of Pennsylvania, or whatever state that I choose to live in during that time, is looking my little girl in the face and telling her, "You're going to have to be a mother," even though someone broke the law, even though you're not in a position to take care of that baby, even though you're not mentally sound, and that the trauma that you experience, you're now going to go through for the next foreseeable future. For a lifetime. My mother told me that you never stop being a parent. She's gone now. and God rest her soul, but she's right. She, even as she is gone, has a huge influence on my life. And I miss her every single day. And that's not something she had to say to me. She did not have to tell me that I am going to have to carry a baby because I'm a male. I can't do that. But I just feel like this shit ain't right. And I don't want to be cursing. This shit ain't right. It ain't right. And we need to do something about it. And we, as a community, as a United States citizen, us as a people, we make the laws. We're the ones who say what's going on. So these people who are in the government, they need to be voted out. And if you're in the state of Pennsylvania and you think that a woman should not have the right to say what goes on with her body, you will be voted